Hello, everybody. Hi, thanks for joining. I see I'm kind of Christmas up right now. We'll wait a few minutes to start until when people join. So bear me a few minutes. Hope you're all having a great day so far. I see Carmen is saying ha ha in the chat because I'm wearing my Christmas hat. Carmen is one of our CS people at StoryChief. She handles customer success and onboarding, such kind of things. She's here to help me today with any questions. So any questions you have, feel free to just throw them in our chat and she'll help answer them for you. All right, so I think we are probably ready to go now. Let me take off this Christmas hat. I look a bit silly. Let's put it over there. So thanks for joining again. So the goal of this webinar is to help you understand how to use the story editor more efficiently. So the goal is to show you how we can create stories, how we can embed content from different sources, how we can use the SEO tool to improve our stories based on SEO and readability, how we can also collaborate, how we can use reports. So everything encompassing stories we'll take a look at today. So first off, let me share my screen with you all, then we can take a close look together. So as I mentioned at the start, we do have our chat as well during the webinar. So any questions you have, let us know via the chat. And at the end, there'll be time for a Q&A. So feel free to ask any questions you want in regards to stories. So here we are. I've shared my screen. All right, so this is your dashboard, which you'll hopefully be used to seeing by now. What I'm going to do first is create a new story just by clicking on this big green button, write a story, then we can take a look at that. So if you're new to StoryChief, the act of creating a story may be new to you. So this all might maybe like new information and you might not know exactly what's going on. So I'm going to try and show you all step by step on how we can create a really great interactive visual story. So the first thing I'm going to do obviously is add a title and also some copy. I'm a terrible writer, so let me just copy a title from our own blog. If you haven't taken a look at our blog before in the past, I do recommend checking it out. Let me just actually paste a link to that in the chat here. Lots of really cool insights about content marketing and how you can, again, improve your processes. So let's just copy that title and then we can just paste that in here and some copy as well. Here we go. Let's copy that paragraph. It's very simple and easy to use. So just start typing away, of course. But then we can add different elements into that article. So for example, we can add images, galleries, say Instagram posts, tweets, lots of really cool options. And they're all accessible by just pressing enter. So if I do that right now, we'll see our media embedding bar appear where we have all those options present. Let's take a look at them one by one. So images, what we can do here is either upload an image from our own computer, or we can just search for something. So we have this really great integration with Unsplash, which is a royalty-free image database. So I can just search for something. So my story is about, say, content creation strategy. So if I type in, say, strategy right now, like so, press enter, then we see every single every single image even that relates to that keyword. Then we can just pick one we want to use inside of our story. So let's see what we have here. Maybe next, what else we have? Let's say this one here, that'll do. Click on it, it gets added to our story where we can then change the size of that image if we want, make it a bigger or smaller. We can add links to that image. So people click on the link, click on the image, take into the link. We'll also change the alt tag as well, and even change the image in our image editor, where we can add text or shapes, or we can draw an image if you want to as well. It's all possible. We can then add some more text. Let's go down here. There we go. Then we can try a different option. Let's say image galleries. So click on that one. And this time we can choose images from our own computer. Let's do that. Organize, add images. And I have some images here already prepared. Let's see here. These ones right there. There we go. Add those. They'll then be uploaded to StoryChief, where we can then also add our alt text or a caption per image. Click on save, and then those images will be presented inside of this nice gallery here. And once you publish this out to your website, it'll be all presented just like this. All right, let's add some more text again. Why not? Let's add another embed, this time a video. So videos, how they work is that the video has to be uploaded already to either YouTube or Wistia or Vimeo or Spotlighter. Once you've done that, you've already uploaded the video, you just have to get the link to that video. So for YouTube, for example, I have one already prepared here. Let's copy that and paste it in and press enter. And you'll see now that video gets embedded inside of our story. So if you have previous experience creating content on CMS, you may have been used to having to use embed codes or these scripts to get these things embedded inside your stories. But StoryChief makes that very simple. You just paste a link in there and it gets embedded inside of your content. And that works also the same for other content as well. So if I want to add, say, also a type form questionnaire, I can do so again by clicking on, say, this example now, rich media, and just copying again the link, in this case now to type form, copy that, paste it in, and it gets added again inside of our story. And you can keep doing that for multiple different platforms, so Typeform, Google Maps, podcast platforms, could be Anchor or Spotify even. Lots of really cool options you can use there. Same also Instagram as well, so also a very popular option. I can just copy a link to a public Instagram post, again choose the rich media option down here, paste the link, and then we have it embedded inside of our story. So again, very quick and very easy to do. And you can see already how quick it is for us to create a very interactive and visually attractive story just by a few minutes by adding those links in. Okay, again, any questions at all during the webinar, let me know in the chat. Next up is how we can also format text. So we've added our content, we've added our embeds, but we can also change how our text looks just by highlighting a section. For example, let's say these 3 words. Let's do that. You see how we can put things in bold, italics, underline. We also create headings as well. Let me just separate this out. Create headings. You can create quotes as well, and create bullet point lists, numbered lists. Anything you kind of expect in a CMS, you can do inside StoryChief, and then it's translated over to your website upon publishing. All right, so once you've already added your content, you're ready, you're good to go, there's still ways we can improve this story. But first, what I want to take a look at is how we can understand how long our story is, how long it takes to read as well. And you can see that all up here in this section here. So click on there and we see how many words our story has, how long it takes to read it, and also in addition, how many paragraphs we have, how many characters, how many different pieces of media, and how many links. So if you're working with clients or maybe even freelancers and they have certain goals they need to reach, you can always take a look at this and make sure they're reaching those goals. And if it's you yourself, okay, maybe the story's a bit too short, I'd make it a bit longer. All right, so that's that. So what's next? Next is SEO and readability. That's right next to this bit here. If I click on that now, I can see how our story is currently scoring based on both SEO and readability. So SEO is all about making sure that your story will rank high on search engines by focusing on a certain key phrase. So again, our story is about content creation strategies. Let me just type in content creation, like so, content creation. And what will now happen is StoryChief will give me suggestions on how to improve our story based on that key phrase. So for example, I can see that our text length is too short. That's probably quite a given right now. But we can also see based on our key phrase, our key phrase is in the title. Here we have it here. But the exact match of the key phrase is not at the start. So we should change that. If I now click on the edit link, it will take me to the exact part of the story where I need to make that change. So if I were now to type in content creation at the start, whoops, wrong button, content creation here, we will see that that score will rise now to 70%. That suggestion will fall away, and then we can work on the next tip. So the goal here is to reach 100% on SEO. Then you are aware that your score is stronger in SEO. It's more likely to be found on search engines, and your story is really focused on that key phrase. Because at the end of the day, what you want is to be highly ranked on this platform right here. You can't see it, right on Google. You want to have a high score, get that on StoryChief, and then you'll be happy and you know that you have a high chance of being found on search engines. All right, so that's SEO. That's more about machines and kind of tailoring it to them. But readability is also a huge aspect here, making it easy to read and understandable to your audience. So what we do here is we also give you some tips, for example, for reading ease, sentence length, passive voice score, transitional words. These are all crucial into making sure that your story is easy to read. So definitely take a look at both of these sections. I recommend not waiting until finishing your story, but take a look every now and again, make sure you're on the right track for both SEO and readability, and adjust where necessary. All right, next up, let's take a look at some more advanced options in here. So that was SEO and readability. And up here we have some more things. For example, editorial brief here, where you can brief either yourself or possibly even your colleagues as to what a story should be about. Now, ideally, you would use this at the start of the creation process. Once you have an idea for a story, you just create the story, create the brief, and then you can then work on that story. So what you do first is add a working title and then kind of structure your story. So what should it be about? Who's the audience? Why are we creating it? And how do we convey this message? This is a template we provide everybody, but you are more than free to just delete it and add your own details in there. You can definitely do that. You can also add files as well. So maybe there's a Word document you've already started, or maybe even an image you want to use. You can add that in there. Word count you want to hit, and also a internal deadline. So say, okay, I want the story to be finished by, say, on New Year's Eve. Why not? Let's choose that. You can do so, and even assign the whole story to a colleague as well. So if you say, okay, Sam, I want you to create the story. I'm going to first brief you on what it should be about, and then I'm going to assign it to you so you know it's ready to go. You can work on it. All right, that's that. Up here, I've also updates. This will show you every single time one of your colleagues has made a change to the story. For example, maybe they left a comment for you, or they've reviewed your story for you. These will be present in here. We also have the SEO optimizer, of course, we saw earlier. Version history that shows you every single time so you've refreshed the story, or you've if a colleague has refreshed the story and made some changes. These will all be reflected inside of this menu here. So every time you refresh, we create a new snapshot. You can then see and compare between those versions and just see what's been changed here. So if a colleague has made a change, you aren't quite sure what change has been made, maybe you aren't quite happy with it, you can always revert to a previous version. So anything in green is new, anything in red has been deleted. Okie dokie. Next up is preview. Now this creates a static version of our story as it is right now. So this is really useful if you want to just maybe share it with somebody else. So I can share it with you all in the chat right now. Let's do that. Here we go. You can click on that and take a look at it. And the real beauty of this is that you don't need to log into anything. So no StoryChief account is necessary. You can share it with your colleagues, your clients, your freelancers, anybody at all, and they can see what you've been working on. Download as well, which gives you, of course, as you can probably imagine, a download version of that story in PDF, Word formats, and also you can download the assets. So all the images we've added, you can download them in a zip file. All right, that's how we can obviously create a story and how we can use advanced options to improve it even further. But there's still one very key aspect I haven't really touched upon, and that is collaboration. How we can work together inside of our team, be it with colleagues or with clients, to really improve that story even more. So there are three main ways we can do that. The first way is by leaving comments. So again, if I highlight the section of text here, what I can do is I can click on the comment icon and leave a message on that highlighted piece of text. So for example, I can write here, can you rewrite this for me, please? And a smiley face, why not? And I can also tag people as well. So I can tag, for example, let's say here, Kirsty here, let's tag her. Click on save. What will now happen is a StoryChief will send Kirsty an email with both a link to our story that we're working on, and also the message I've written will be in the email as well. So Kirsty will know where to go, what story is referring to, and also what the issue is. She can then jump in, make changes, and then either reply to this comment to say, hey, it's done, or she could even resolve it. And by resolving it, it just removes the whole comment here from the open tab and moves it to resolved. So I know, she knows, everyone knows that this comment is no longer relevant, and we can then go on to the next comment. The second way we can collaborate is by inviting people into a story. Clicking on share will allow us to do that. So share, ask team member to edit. And then we can just choose again someone inside of our workspace. Let's say my good buddy Londa here. Also, we leave a note as well as to why we're inviting Londa in this case to our story. Hi Londa, can you help me? There we are. Invite, and then he can jump into the story and also work on it with me. And as you can see right now, because I've invited Londa, his icon here is visible, so we know, this is my story and also Londa's story. And the third key way is by sharing as well, asking for a review. So click on share, ask for a review. And this option allows us to both choose people within our workspace. So I could choose again, let's say Londa, why not? And also we can choose people outside our workspace as well, just by leaving an email address. So I can say, for example, samexample.com, why not? That'll do. And that allows anybody to review our story. So even without an account of their own, they can check it out, they can review it and give us feedback. Let's confirm. There we go. If I click here now on this pending approval icon here, we can see these two people have been asked to review it. This is the status on it. And once they've actually reviewed it for us, this will change to either green or red. And also the comment they add as well will be visible in this sidebar. Okay, all right, that's collaboration. Hope that was all clear. Again, any questions, let me know via the chat. I see some questions coming in, which we'll get towards answering at the end. Let's now move on to the summary tab. In the summary tab is where we can kind of touch up our story in some ways. We can get it ready for publication. So we can add a cover image, we can add an excerpt. So all about content creation. That'll do for now. Whoops, there we go. We can change who the author is of this story, change the categories, we can add tags as well. And all these details will sync up to your CMS. So if you have, say, a category called marketing already in WordPress, as long as the slug is the same for these categories, this will all sync up perfectly. So you can keep using all the existing categories, tags, and authors. As long as they all match up, you'll be good to go. Change the language as well, also the internal due date. SEO settings, so this is how your story will appear both on search engines and also on social media. So you can customize how it will look. You see a preview here. We can change the title a bit. There we are. We can change the slug. We can change the meta description as well, all to help you tailor that whole story for those platforms. And then finally, custom fields allow you to send over additional data to your CMS. This could be, for example, I don't know, a biography box at the bottom of each story. It could be an event you have planned, you want to display at the bottom. It's all relevant to your own website. So it does require you to set up custom fields on your site beforehand. But if you have any questions about that, do take a look at our help center at help.storychief.io, and you can find help on how to set those up. All right, so once you've done that, we can then go over to audience, where we can then start to publish our story by selecting first our channels. So I want to first publish to, say, my William blog, and also I want to publish to, say, WordPress, Webflow. There we go. Of course, I publish to content hubs such as RSS channels or Medium. You can also publish to referral marketing channels. These allow you to send your story to, could be clients, could be colleagues, could be members of the press. So we just turn on each of these channels here. So what you do first, set this up, you first create a list of people you want to send the emails to. Once you've done that, you can then turn this on and then click on publish after enabling your channels to send it out to them or via email. This is a preview of one of those emails. So they'll get some content of that story present, and also links to see the full story, and also download it via PDF, Word files, or even the assets. Or alternatively, you can allow them to share it on their own social media platforms, maybe Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, for example. And this is a really cool option we use internally as well to help spread the reach of our own stories. You enable this feature, create a list, and then we send it out to all of our colleagues. They can then share it on their own social platforms, therefore increasing our reach even further. And you can even leave a message as to why they're being contacted. So, can you help us share this story, for example? Okay, email marketing channels, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign. These allow you to include your story in an email campaign on those platforms. That way you can just again increase the reach even further of that content. And mobile channels, Google AMP and Facebook Instant Articles are the two options right now, and they allow mobile readers to view a more lightweight version of your story that loads in faster, and there's a lot less chance of them dropping away due to slow loading times. All right, I've activated my channels. I can now click on publish. Then we can see them all going out one by one in real time. Let's do that, confirm. Hopefully they all go out. Some of these channels are test accounts, so hopefully none of them fail, but we'll soon find out. And here we go. So already published on 2 different channels. And one thing I didn't mention earlier is that once you create a story via StoryChief, you don't have to worry about font stylings or font sizes or how big the images are. It'll all look as it should on your platform. So to demonstrate that to you all, if I check out my story on my William blog, we will see our title is there, we see our paragraphs are there, our images, all of our embeds, our videos, it's all present. And it all looks as it should on my William blog. However, if I take a look at that same story on my WordPress site, we will see it looks vastly different, much bigger title, different font, images are different sizes, but again, all of that content is there. We have our images, again, our videos, it's all present in our story. So once you've set up StoryChief, you connect to your channels, you can easily publish without fear of things looking amiss. Okay, that's how we can create and publish stories, but there's still a lot more I want to show you all today. So let's head on back to our dashboard. Again, any questions, let us know via the chat. So the next thing I want to show you is how we can just understand our stories page, how we can use that to see certain content, and how we can filter as well. So here I am. So again, this is my test account, lots of junk data in there, but that's fine for now. This is the story we just published right here. We can see it's published. We can see who worked on that story, so myself and Londa, the language, because it's published, also the stats of that story, how many views, how many reads we have, a campaign, if it's belonged to a campaign, categories, the tags, pretty much any data you want to know about that story, you can find in your stories list, even SEO and readability settings here. But what if you want to see maybe less data or maybe even more data? How can we do that? Well, if we click on this icon up here, we can then toggle things on and off. So maybe, let's say you don't use tags on your site, you want to turn them off, you can click on there to turn that off. Also maybe show a custom field we have created in there, or we can even say, okay, show me the status of this story on my Webflow site. And then we can see, is it published on that site or not? And we can see that down here. So none of these stories are published, but we can see that if we wanted to. And all this toggling on and off, it remains if you refresh or you log out and log back in, it'll all be there as you set it for the next time. But we can take it even further by also searching as well. So for example, let's say I want to find every single story that mentions Twitter. How I can do that is just click on here, click quick search, type in Twitter, and it will show me every single story that mentions Twitter. And this is not only stories that mention Twitter in the title, but also every single story that mentions Twitter in the copy or anywhere else in that story. It doesn't have to be in the title. It could just be in the actual story itself. But what if I actually want to just look at the title? Well, I can do that as well. If I click on add filter here, I can now choose title and really narrow down that search even further. Say contains Twitter. And now we'll see that it narrows down that search even further, now just these 2 stories that has Twitter in the title. And you can use the filter option for lots of different things. You can say, for example, every single story that has an SEO score of over 80%, maybe even lower, say than 10%, so you know which ones you have to work on. Every single story created by a certain colleague. Any field you've used inside StoryChief, you can filter on. And once you create a filter you're happy with, you can always save it also as a segment. So click on save, give it a name, click on save new segment, and then it'll be visible in the sidebar here. So these are some filters I've created. I can then easily click on these to jump and see all those stories that match that segment. All right, that is filtering and narrow down our search. Let's take a look at reports next. So let's choose, for example, let's see here. Let's find a good one first. How about Let's delete my search quick. Let's say this one here. Let's click on report. Then we can see how well this story is performing so far. So I can see this story. You can see our title here. We can see when it was published. If it belonged to a campaign, we can see that also here. Then we can see for over time how our views are, how our reads are, what's our average read time, and what are our leads. I see a question in the chat now from Ron actually asking, what is a view and what is a read? It's a good question, Ron. We get asked that question quite a lot, so let me explain that all to you all. So a view is somebody who has seen your content on social media. Say you've shared it on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever it is. Every time somebody sees that piece of content, that tweet or that Facebook post, that counts as one view. However, if somebody were to click on that link and then actually see your article on your website, that counts as a read. So it's very possible to have, say, I don't know, 1,000 views and 0 reads. If 1,000 people saw your tweet, you could have 1,000 views, but if nobody clicked over to your website, you could have 0 reads. So it's very possible to have a high amount of views and a low amount of reads. So that's a difference right there. So ideally, you would want to have, a high number of each one, of course. So definitely make sure you're sharing your story everywhere you can to increase that reach. And leads here, they are calculated by embedding lead capture forms inside of your story, which I'll show you how to do in a little bit. And once you've added lead capture form, every time somebody leaves their details inside of your story, it'll count as one lead. So it'll count as a lead inside your report, and that contact will also be sent over to your CRM, be it, I don't know, it could be Salesforce or Salesflare or Team Leader, for example, or even just send over the contact, to your email address. That's also possible. Okay, and scrolling further down, we can see a graph over time, so how well our story has performed. And we can see, okay, right now the green is views and the blue is reads. You can toggle them on and off as well, or even add more options here. That way you can really understand how well it is evaluated over time. This is a global look at every single channel combined. But if we scroll further down, we can see a per channel breakdown. So for this story, we can see, okay, it was published on William and on Fork and on Craft, Drupal and Shopify. And I can see, okay, my biggest audience here was on my William blog, and my smallest audience was on my Shopify blog with 0 reads. That's really bad. But you can really use this report to understand where your audience is, where they're reading from, and maybe give you some insights as to where you should change your focus to, or maybe even give more focus on a certain platform. And also see how the read time also varies per channel as well. Further down, we can see our social posts that are linked to this story. So we can see what social post that was, and even check out the report of that individual social post as well. And if you use an email marketing channel, you can see how many times somebody has opened your email that contains that story. So that's our reports. You can also share them as well with other people. So if I click on share, I can then copy the link and even share the link with you all in the chat. There we go. So again, very similar to how we shared a preview earlier, anybody with the link can take a look at the report, check it out, and it'll be very similar to what I just showed you right now. It's also be interactive. They can turn things on and off and see the links and check out each individual version of that story. All right, that is report. So let me next up, explain how we can use lead capture forms inside of our stories. So let me just open up our story again we created earlier. Let me just show you how that is done. It's actually quite easy to set up, but it's very valuable in acquiring new leads from your content. So then you can then use those leads to try and sell your product to, or move them further down the funnel. Let's edit that story. Let's go down to the bottom. Let's add that lead capture form in there. Here we are. Right, so let's press, there we are, still loading here. Let's press enter. This time we can choose lead capture form option. And now we can just choose one form inside of our account. So all the forms have the same layout. They ask for the visitor's first name, last name, and email address, but you can have different platforms connected. So for example, again, Team Leader, Salesforce, Salesflare, or even just your email. So I have an email here set up. So for my own personal work email address. So once I publish now this story with this capture form included, anytime someone were to leave their details, I will get email in my mailbox with their details, and I can use those details however I see fit. So I can then use them in my funnel. Maybe I can reach out to them directly or provide them, I don't know, an ebook or whatever it is. So it's very easy to set up, and you can use this with, again, your own email address or your CRM that you use personally. Okay, so there's a question actually about this from Carola. Can we use a Selligent form? I don't believe so right now, but you may be able to do that with Zapier. We do have a integration with Zapier, and with Zapier you can connect StoryChief, the lead capture forms inside StoryChief, to different platforms. So if Selligent has a Zapier integration, then that is possible. But just to be sure, Carola, I will take a look at this for you and get back to you after the webinar with more details. All right, that's lead capture forms. That's how we can create them. We are running out of time today, but I want to first show you one more thing. That's how to create channels, how to create website channels, how we can connect to them, because it is something that is very important to do, of course, because without any channels, you can't publish. And I think a lot of people do kind of worry about that whole setup procedure, but it's not as bad as that many people think, I think. So let me just show you how we can do that. So first off, you go up here to channels, of course, and then we can just choose the platform we want to connect to. That could be WordPress. Choose that one, for example, and then we can just click on add new destination, and then just follow the steps needed to complete that process. So in the case of WordPress, it's actually quite simple. You just have to add our WordPress plugin to your WordPress site. So you can download that here, and then just have to install it on your website, and then exchange the encryption key. So you copy the key here, add it to WordPress, and then you add your WordPress URL in here, click Save Settings, and then you should be good to go. One of the really cool features about our WordPress integration is that there's also a testing mode. So if you are new to StoryChief, if you first want to try it out, you can always enable the testing mode inside of a WordPress plugin, and then every single story you publish will be sent over as a draft. That way you can make sure everything looks okay before you set it live. So that's how you connect to WordPress, but every other channel has a very similar setup procedure. Some of them are even more straightforward. Some even just require you to just authenticate, so allow us to publish on your site for you. So that's very easy to do. Once you've done that, then you are all good to go. All right, so I think we are at the end of what I wanted to cover. So now we have a bit of time for Q&A. Any questions you have at all about this webinar or about stories or anything I missed, now is definitely time to ask. I see we have some questions already in the chat. Let's start from the top here. So Eric had a question. Are you planning to support Apple's embedded podcast player that was recently released? Great question, Eric. I'm not aware of that, but I will definitely ask our product team about this and get back to you. Typically, Eric, as long as the platform itself is open for developers to integrate with, it is definitely a possibility. So, in an ideal world, we would have integrations with every single platform that is possible. But of course, these take time to develop. But I will definitely ask our product team about that, Eric, and let you know what they say. Next question is from Ingeborg. Hi, Ingeborg. Can a lead form be more than name plus email? Can I use a drop down with choices made in HubSpot, for example? Good question. Right now, our lead capture forms are strictly first name, last name, email. We do plan in the future to have selectable fields where you can either use a drop down to choose different ones or even add your own labels in there. This isn't possible right now, but it's something we have heard about a lot and we do want to tackle sometime in the future. So we'll definitely let you know, Ingeborg, if there are any updates on that. More questions here. I see one from Kevin here. Kevin asks, if I link to a website, does the article adapt formatting to the website's theme? So I mentioned this earlier, Kevin. Hopefully that answered your question. If not, let me know. But to sum up, yes, it will look as it should on your website. We only send over your content, be it the text, the title, and your embeds. No styling is applied, so it should look as it should. Okay, next question. What do we have here? One from Arnold. Could you please show me how you got to that report section with the graphs? Of course. So how we do that, Arnold, is we just go to our stories page. And then just below the title of a story, you should see the reports link. Slow Wi-Fi today, I think. Come on. There we are. Here it is. So here's a report. So just below the title of the story, as long as it's published, of course, you can see the report. And that's also the same for social posts as well. So if a social post has been published, just below the title, you can see the report link for it. Okay, and a question from Margot. Are you recording? Yes, we are recording, and you will get a link to the recording. Be tomorrow about the same time as right now. Okay, I'm glad that answered your question, Arnold. Are there any other questions? I don't think so. But if you have any questions, again, now is definitely the time to ask. Anything about stories at all, just fire away. I'll leave you all a few seconds to think still. Don't be shy. Let me put on my Santa hat. Maybe that'll also convince you all to leave some questions. There we are. Maybe that'll help, or not maybe, I don't know. No more questions? Are we all good? It's fine if there are no questions. Maybe that means I did a good job. Possibly, maybe. Hope so. This is probably our last webinar for the year, hence the Christmas hat. We're going to need to celebrate somehow. I see a question from Margot now. How to connect to WordPress? So the best way of doing this, Margot, is again via the channels page, which is up here. And then you can, when it loads, go down to WordPress and then click on add new destination, and they can just follow the steps that we provide. But Margot, if you need a bit more help with it, no fear, we do have a help article about it, which is at help.storychief.io. And there you can just type in WordPress here. And you should be able to find the link to it, which is here. Let me just share the link in the chat. You can take a look, Margot. There we are. Are there different roles for colleagues? Yes, Basil, there are different roles. So let me just jump back here. So if I go to users here, I can see the users in my workspace right now, but I can also create a new one, which is here, invite a user. And there are 3 different roles. We have publisher, writer, and guest writer. Let's first start with guest writer. So guest writers, they can only create new content, be it stories or social posts, or edit content you've invited them to. So if you have created a story, maybe you've created an editorial brief as well to brief them, you can invite them to that story. They can then take a look at it and make changes. Otherwise, they can't see that story. So only new stories they can create or edit ones you've invited them to. Writers, on the other hand, they can see every single piece of content, be it stories or social posts, and make any change to those as they wish. Publishers, however, they can do all of that stuff and also publish your content out to your channels. So if you want to have people who can only write content, they can't publish, then either writer or guest writer. If you want someone who can do everything and also publish, then publisher. The hint is in the name, publisher, that's what you want. And also you can change the roles of existing users as well, just by clicking on edit. I can, for example, demote Londa to guest writer if I want to. Let's do that. So now he can't publish. Tough. All right, I think, any more questions? Are we good? Another question here from Eric. If you make formatting changes directly on your WordPress blog after publishing, say resizing an image or justification, are those changes overwritten if you publish an update from StoryChief? Yes, they are. Yes, indeed. So if you were, like you say, you publish a story from StoryChief to WordPress, you then open the post in WordPress and make a change. Yeah, if you were then to make an update from StoryChief, it would then overwrite that change. So ideally, what you want to do is not do that, of course. So any change you make, do it via StoryChief, which you can, of course, do. You can always update a previously published story, just reopen it in the editor, make a change, and then update it out to WordPress. Because like you mentioned, if you were to make a manual change in WordPress, it would not be permanent in the way of, if you were to update it via StoryChief, it'll be overridden. Okie dokie. Question from Arnold. Looking at the report section, why would reads be higher than views? is there some reason that would happen? People landing on the blog directly without social media? Yeah, indeed, Arnold. So if you were not to share it on social media, then it's very possible that you would have higher reads than views. So I guess the views and reads can be quite confusing in their terminology. I guess try not to think of it too literally. Read is just someone who has seen your blog article on your blog, whereas a view is anything before that step. So social media post or via a newsletter, anywhere your story is not fully present and readable. All right, I don't see any more questions, but if there are any questions, there's still a few minutes, so have at it. If not, it's been a pleasure talking to you all today. Hope you will learn a few things, hopefully. That was the goal. And we'll have a different webinar next month. In next year, hopefully next year will be a bit better than this year. I'm not quite sure of the topic just yet for next webinar, but we will definitely announce it via email closer to the webinar date. So stay tuned for that. All right, thank you very much for joining. It's been a pleasure. Have a great, great holiday period, great Christmas, or whatever you celebrate. Enjoy it. I have a day off tomorrow, so I'm gonna try and relax after this stressful webinar. So that'll be good. And yeah, have a great day. Enjoy the afternoon or morning, wherever you are, and talk to you all very soon. See ya. Bye.